Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And we're going to be starting a new 4-week rotation. And basically, it's going to be about psychological factors linked to positive body image. And I want to preface this entire thing by saying that body image is not always linked to eating disorders. And I don't want to make the mistake of assuming that everyone who struggles with an eating disorder also struggles with body image, because it's simply not true. But in my own experience and in dealing and working with other people with eating disorders, I would tend to say that the majority of people who are struggling with any particular eating disorder also struggle with body image issues. So, week 1 is going to be about self-esteem. Basically, what is it, the impact it has on quality of life, choices, and recovery, building self-esteem, and also I'll talk a little bit about self-worth, self-confidence, and self-respect, which are all very different things, even though many people often use them interchangeably. I want to apologize for the lighting. It's really late and I don't have a lot of time these days to make videos, unfortunately, because I love to make them. But it's very late, and this is the best lighting I could find in my house. And I always say what I'm saying is actually much more important than the way I look or what you can see. So as long as you can hear me, that's what I care about most. But I am realizing also that because of the monitor from my computer, I'm getting a really weird glare from my glasses. But if I don't have my glasses on, I can't see. So we'll just have to put up with it for this week. So the first thing I want to do in talking about self-esteem is give you a basic definition, because even though I think we all know what self-esteem is, it's important to understand the other words that go along with it. Self-esteem is used a lot in psychology, which is what this rotation is all about, but it's used to reflect a person's overall appraisal and evaluation. And I think the definition I'm looking at right now is explaining that self-esteem actually encompasses beliefs. For example, I am competent or I am worthy. And it also encompasses emotions such as triumph, despair, pride, and shame. That's a pretty good definition, I think. I think self-concept is very highly linked to self-esteem, and self-esteem can be positive or negative depending upon our evaluation of ourselves. So now that we know what it is, or if we already did, how does self-esteem impact our lives and our choices and our recovery? Well, self-esteem is going to impact everyone's life simply because it is the way we view ourselves. And that has a lot to do with the way we act, the way we interact with others, and the way we portray ourselves, and just sort of how we view life in general, I think. And it's going to influence the choices that we make, certainly, because we will constantly make choices based upon whether we think we will succeed or not, whether we think that we're good enough, and especially related to appearance and body image, whether we think we are pretty enough or smart enough or thin enough. Things like that. I think with choices, a lot has to do with comparisons, comparing ourselves to others, unfortunately. And obviously, when we're discussing recovery, self-esteem is involved because we need to build it and work on it oftentimes in recovery in order to have a strong sense of self, and understand that we're worth recovering and we're worth having a great, happy life, and the eating disorder doesn't have to win. And I think that is a statement that seems very common sense, but it's very difficult to put into practice, especially if we've lived our entire lives so far with low self-esteem or with skewed self-esteem. I've done a few videos in the past that I think can really help with this topic, because one of the things I'm supposed to be going over is building self-esteem and ways to do that. And right off the top of my head, I know I've done a video about self-confidence before. I've also done a video about being kind to yourself, which has some good exercises in there about how we can boost our self-esteem. I've done videos about comparing ourselves to others, which is very important when it comes to the way we view ourselves. I know I did a video a long time ago called Learning to Like Yourself, and that is a really important one because I think before we can have healthy self-esteem and healthy self-confidence and other things like that, we really need to like ourselves. And if we can muster the courage and the strength to begin to love ourselves, that's even better. I will post the video links to those videos in the info box of this video, so if you're interested in those or you haven't already seen them, check them out. This video, I don't want to make it too long. And then quickly, I do want to talk about the differences in the other self-words like self-confidence and self-worth and self-respect. First, I'll talk about self-confidence. Self-confidence basically relates to being self-assured, and it relates to your own personal judgment and ability and power. And I think if you think of what confidence means to you, and then you put that self in front of it, that's a pretty good description of what self-confidence is, and it is slightly different than self-esteem. Now, self-confidence, I think, is also very important when it comes to recovery. I think it's a piece that comes a little bit later most of the time. I know for me, I had to work on self-esteem. I definitely had to work on self-worth. And the last piece was the self-confidence, where I realized my own power and I wanted to use it, and I learned to like myself and I learned to love myself, and I was just so happy being me that I had this sense of self-confidence that I never had before. And I think that's the main thing of all of those self-words that really got me to the point that I'm at today. And then self-worth has a little bit more to do with your own value and how much you value yourself, how much you feel you are worthy of the lifestyle that you may want to give yourself, and just in the scheme of other people and life, how much you really value yourself. And really, in order to get anywhere in recovery, you have to have self-worth. You have to believe that you're worth it. You have to believe that you have value. If you don't think that you have any value, or if you think that you have less value than other people out there, you're not going to get very far, because you're taking away precious things from yourself every time you think that you don't measure up or you don't deserve help. And then lastly, self-respect. Again, if you remove that first piece of the self and think about respect and then put the word self back in front of it, self-respect is more about your dignity and appreciating yourself where that dignity is concerned. Self-respect, even though it plays such a huge role in self-confidence and self-worth and self-esteem, it is slightly different. And I think it's good to take a minute to think about all these different self-words and how much each of them means to you, and if you apply them, and maybe almost grade yourself on your self-worth and self-respect and self-confidence. And all of those things together create your self-esteem. I would actually add another self-word. I would add self-love, because it sort of takes away all of the logical that has to do with worth and respect and confidence and esteem, and it's just love. Self-love means, do you love yourself? Do you have that appreciation for yourself? And you need to have that. I think more than anything, I use the word self-love, even more than self-esteem, to encompass a lot, because I think self-love is so important. And to me, that kind of embodies what I want to show people as possible.